your visit today. Why did you choose to come to Pike County?
I came to Pike County and to Troy because the factory here, the Lockheed Martin factory, produces extremely important systems, weapons, ammunition for the whole of NATO. And by doing that, you help to protect our freedom of democracy. And not least, these weapons have proven extremely important on the battlefield in Ukraine, helping the Ukrainians to push back the Russian invaders and liberate very much of the territory that Russia occupied in the beginning of the war.
I'm sure that employees here were honored to hear from you as well. What specifically do workers at this Lockheed Martin plant do to ensure the safety of Ukraine?
They produce the ammunitions, the weapons, the missiles that the Ukrainians need to protect themselves. Russia invaded a neighbor, Ukraine, and that's a tragedy for the Ukrainians, but it's also dangerous for us if we allow President Putin to win, because that will embolden President Putin, but also other authoritarian leaders to use even more force. So, for instance, the javelins, which are produced here in Pike County, they were extremely important at the beginning of the war. They enabled the Ukrainians to stop the invaders, the Russian armed forces, and also, of course, some of the interceptors for the air defense missiles are extremely important. They are saving lives almost daily in Ukraine. So the products, the weapons, the systems which are produced here help Ukraine to defend themselves, and everyone in Alabama should be very proud of that.
Sure they are, and I know that your focus today was on Ukraine, but recently some U.S. military were killed after a strike in Jordan, and I know that there's a lot of tension right now in the Middle East. What are your thoughts on all that?
First, my condolences to those who lost their loved ones, and it demonstrates the risk men and women in uniforms are taking to protect our freedom to fight terrorism. It demonstrates also the need to ensure that the troops we are sending in harm's way have the best possible equipment, the best possible support to minimize the risks. And the tragic events in Jordan reminds us of the importance of exactly that.
And my last question for you is, what exactly, in your words, for people that don't necessarily fully understand what NATO does, what is your mission?
NATO is a defense alliance where we say that an attack on one ally will be regarded as an attack on all allies. One for all for one. And by doing that, we have prevented any military attack on any NATO ally since we were established 75 years ago. So NATO is a defensive alliance. NATO is about preserving peace by sending a clear message to any potential adversary that if they attack one ally, the whole of the alliance will be there, and therefore no one attacks us. This is of course important for Europe, because NATO is in European countries, but also Canada and the United States. But it's also important for the United States, because the more concerned you are about China, the more you should appreciate the fact that in NATO, the United States has something no other ally, no other major power has, and that is more than 30 friends and allies. The United States represents 25% of the world's economy. Together with NATO allies, we represent 50% of the world's GDP or economy, and 50% of the military might. So NATO is a good deal for Europe, but NATO is also a very good deal for the United States.
Thank you so much for your time.